There is a report that the whole world has been waiting for. It is the UAP Task Force report published by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence in the United States. It was announced to give us answers to the most important questions that mankind face today. Are we being visited by some other intelligence? Now that the report is online, we are left with more questions than answers. Joining me now are the representatives from the International Coalition for Extraterrestrial Research from 11 countries here. Welcome, everybody. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
You're all switched off. Your microphones are switched off. And I would like to ask your opinions during this video, because I can imagine that the report will be perceived quite differently from one country to the other. So first of all, Gary, who is our vice president in the United Kingdom, what was your initial reaction when you read that report?
Initially, because we've been led to believe that it was going to be something like 70 plus pages. However, when I did read it, I was quietly impressed by it because there were certain sections within it that stood out for me, not least the fact that 143 of the 144 cases hadn't been explained, and yet that are almost entirely been military cases as far as we're aware. So we're basically saying 143 pilots have been unable to identify what they saw, which is a bit of an incredible thing when you think of all the flight training that pilots have had. So, and with all the sophistication of the technology that America possesses, they've been unable to determine what these objects are that were seen. And we don't know how many of them were recorded, but I found that quite staggering. For me, overall, whilst it wasn't a lengthy document, it was a moment in history because we have strived for 70 years to gain recognition and to be treated seriously that there is a phenomena in our skies. And I think that that document actually does that. And if you see all the newspaper headlines since, virtually all of them are picking up on the fact that they don't know what these things are. So for me, it was an historic document, and hopefully the stigma that started to disappear will continue to disappear, and we can really start to have some serious research. And as the ISA statement that was put out today, we call for that transparency from this point on.
Yes. Thank you. Paolo, you being from Italy, representing Italy, how was this report perceived in Italy?
Yes, thanks, Robert. Well, I have to say that the report in Italy was perceived quite well. I have seen a good number of articles on the Italian press, on the web press, so to speak, but the general tone was very serious. I mean, the opinion, the basic opinion could be different, but the important point is that the articles were all how can I say, treating the subject very seriously. No one making jokes, no playing around, no chuckling, so to speak, and so on. But I have to say that I had already noted this tendency since a good stretch of time, I have to say. It's about a few months that in Italy, the general tone of the, let's call it, discussion on the subject of UAPs is not is taken. It actually took different turn. I saw many TV shows, I saw comments, I saw articles on the press, I saw articles on the web press that were all serious on the subject. So in any case, I can say that the article reacting to this report in Italy were mostly how can I say, very objective and serious.
May I report about the situation in Germany? This was actually the very first time in the history of the German news that we had the subject in Tagesschau, which is the most important news show in Germany, and they reported on it quite in a serious fashion, even though they reported too early. They were waiting for it to come out at about 7 p.m. here. And it was still not out. And I think I was not the only one who has been waiting and refreshing, going on UFO Twitter and all of that. Let's go to a country where I know that people are also equally skeptical about the UFO phenomenon, which is Denmark. Astrid, how was it perceived in your country?
Well, Robert, I can only say that we are very disappointed here in Denmark because there has not been very much press on this. I read one small article about the report in one newspaper, rather big newspaper, but it was very, very short. And we haven't read or heard anything else. So I don't know if Rune has anything more to report than me, but that's it.
Yes, Rune, who is the national representative of Denmark. What can you tell us about the media reaction in your country?
Yeah, there still hasn't been much. They're just giving on the information, it seems. There's have not been this big journalistic discussion whatsoever. There's been during the last few weeks, in more relaxed areas of the mainstream media, there's been sort of talk show about it. And to be honest, there's been a couple of great people from within the military that has gone quite far. And that's very interesting. But as it goes to the larger system, so to say, we still have a long way to go.
Yeah. Now, I'm most interested to hear the opinion of our Russian representative, because Russia in that very report was accused of being behind the phenomenon next to China. I will quote here. One of the explanations is that it may be the phenomenon may be foreign adversary systems. I quote here: some UAP may be technologies deployed by China, Russia, another nation, or a non-governmental entity. So, Granian, what can you tell us about that? When is your government finally going to show us the secret UFOs that you built?
Yes, I want to say that it's the main problem for us, for people who trying to understand this phenomenon, this politician games, because I think that we should unite in our international communication and trying to find the reasons, find the essence of this phenomenon. But unfortunately, we cannot avoid problems with banning us. But I think that it's not Russia. I don't know about China, but it's not Russia.
Okay. What was the media reaction in Russia? Was it reported at all?
I think we just starting the reaction because the difference in times in United States and Russia, not so much time since this document was published. So I think we will see the reaction soon, very soon.
Okay. But it's true that the Soviet Union has had its own secret UFO study enterprise called Project Zetka, and then Galaxy, and then Horizon. Why is it that we still don't know anything about, or hardly anything that the Russians know about this?
Unfortunately, I also don't know anything. We have a lot of information about the phenomenon, and since USSR and research, it was a lot of evidence, and also now we have a lot of evidence. But it's not, it's extraterrestrial phenomenon, not human nature.
So let's go to the United States. Don Schmidt, you are the Roswell expert. You just learned from the report that the UFO phenomenon didn't exist before 2004. All that research you've done in vain. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, and what also was surprising to me that last night, Tucker Carlson on Fox News started out with an opening salvo against Roswell. Roswell is not even mentioned in the report, and yet he stated that it could very well have been a weather balloon device, just as the Air Force, maintains. I don't understand the double standard unless he was told to make sure you emphasize that there is no UFO history prior to 2004. And the one case that dominates, even to this day, certainly would be Roswell. Now, as Gary emphasized, what are the chances, percentage-wise, that of the 144 military cases they investigated, they were unable to explain less than 1% of them? Whereas when the Air Force, Project Blue Book, the most famous of the U.S. investigations, they were able to explain away 87% of the cases they investigated. So we have a major reversal in that they're demonstrating not only a phenomenon, and as Gary aptly pointed out, it's removed the stigma. The point being that there now is an official report or a preliminary report. Here in the States, we know that the Senate Intel Committee also received a 78-page classified report, and we're hearing that it really raised the attention of the senators and the congressmen involved. So we expect to have another report regarding that. I find it interesting, too, that the New York Times is emphasizing the point that even though they didn't mention the word alien or extraterrestrial, that because they used the word other, that would fall into that category. The fact that they could not come right out and acknowledge ET, nonetheless, the American media is playing up the fact that they did not discount it. They did not disqualify the fact that we indeed may be dealing with a technology off the planet.
Yeah. Let's go to Latin America, to Argentina. Andrea, you have, I'm sure you have also read the report. May I ask you your opinion? First of all, how was it received in your country, and are you satisfied?
Sí, he leído todo el informe y bueno, acá recién hoy estamos empezando a ver el impacto en principio en los medios de comunicación más importantes, y yo estoy muy en la línea que acaba de exponer Don sobre, tener dos miradas sobre el informe. Una es que si nos vamos hacia atrás, quizá había muchos que tenían yo no tenía esa expectativa. Había mucho que tenía expectativa de reconocer eventos antes del 2004, y en este sentido creo que ahí todavía hay una deuda por pagar y exponer.
Okay, let me translate first. Andrea is saying that they are beginning to see an impact on the news media, and she shares the opinion of Don, who said that we had a little bit more expectations concerning the history of the phenomenon prior to 2004, and so there are still many questions unanswered.
Y en relación a mi opinión, yo tengo una lectura muy positiva de lo que sucedió, porque para mí pone el debate ya en otro lugar, que es institucionalizar en principio el reconocimiento de un fenómeno no identificado, y el debate ahora sube un escalón al punto de que se va a dar fuerte discusión en búsqueda del origen no humano o de otras hipótesis, incluyendo desarrollo tecnológico.
And it is, of course, a very good sign. She said she read it, she liked the report, and it's a very good sign that this whole debate is now being institutionalized, and the whole question about what is this phenomenon all about will now be put on a different level, where we can all find out what is behind the phenomenon. Let's stay in Latin. Thank you, Andrea. Let's stay in Latin America. Let's go to Peru. Giorgio, what is your opinion? What were your thoughts on the report, and how was the media reaction in your country?
My assessment is that it's a positive thing. It legitimizes, it's an official admission that UFO phenomenon is a legitimate endeavor to study, and it may be of concern to the nations of the world. And so basically it's a concern to the US, that reflects all over the place. So that's a good thing. We can capitalize on that. Regarding the media response, the only one I am aware of until now has been on the radio programs of Peru, the main radio network in Peru. They did an online article, basically highlighting that it could be a number of things, that there is not enough data to discern the nature of the phenomenon, and that there is official interest in the US now, and basically that. But they could not distinguish between the DNI assessment and the UAPTF report. It's like a mixed in two categories were mixed in their mind. But that's about it. I will continue looking for more responses from the media. The problem in Peru right now is that we are in the middle of one scandal after another politically.
Okay, so this subject is being overshadowed by other events in your country. Okay. I see. Let's go to Chile. Rodrigo, what was the media reaction in your country to that report?
Recién se está viendo una reacción por parte de la prensa. La prensa ha tenido una posición como bien neutra.
Okay, so they reported on it in a very neutral fashion.
Yo creo que aquí lo que he podido percibir dentro de todo esto que hay una lectura de acuerdo a cada interés, porque he dado cuenta que del punto de vista escéptico dicen que no hay nada nuevo, que prácticamente se dan vueltas las mismas cosas. Lo que hemos podido ver que es un preinforme, concuerdo que abre las puertas a una nueva etapa. Concuerdo también que eso está en el ámbito netamente de la defensa de Estados Unidos, pero que marca un antes y un después en función de dar cuenta de la importancia de estos fenómenos y que hay que tomárselos en serio.
Okay, let me translate, please. So the skeptics were quick in saying there's nothing new to it, but this is in fact a new etap, a new step in this whole discussion, which marks like the past and the future of that, because now this is being discussed on another level. I'm sorry if I forgot half of what you said, Rodrigo. Maybe Francisco, you can help me out. What else did I forget?
No, I think you mentioned more or less everything.
Okay, great. So, muchas gracias, Rodrigo. Let's return to Europe, and I would like to go to Romania. Dan Farkas, I would like to know what was the media reaction in your country, and also I would like to know, do you think that regarding the UFO phenomenon through the binoculars of the military is the only available option?
The reaction of the media was mild. So, for example, in the main TV show, the TV channel, state TV channel, it was a short mention about it, but neutral, without any comments. I have some comments because we in Romania see the UFO phenomenon very broad. It's not only the military sightings, it's much more, and I don't enter now in details, but it's also spiritual and so. But it's absolutely normal for me, at least, that the first step was made by the Americans. Even it's a global phenomenon. It was made by military, not by spiritual or scientific people. And also, it's the only way to convince somehow the great public that the phenomenon exists. So it was an achievement, in my opinion, and my colleagues' opinion. We should go forward. It was impossible to ask the Pentagon to speak about extraterrestrials. They will speak about extraterrestrials if they will have one to show to everybody, but not before.
I see. Okay, let's go to another country that used to be part of the Eastern Bloc, the Czech Republic, Karel. I'm sure you have also followed the publication of that report with great interest. Was there anything on the Czech news?
Yeah. Unfortunately, Czech Republic is traditionally a very skeptic country, and we have very much close-minded people, and all information about UFOs is controlled only by intelligence. It's intelligent. All intelligence agencies here, I mean, military and civil and so on. Officially, there are no UFOs, and if you want to talk about UFO seriously, they laugh at you and you'll be mocked. There were only short articles about Luis Elizondo, but they were without comment, just very, very small. Here, they directly want no one to believe in UFO, and this effort is succeeding. That's all.
I see. Okay. But there was not even one single news report on television or in the Czech media?
No. Just in the press, small or short articles about Luis Elizondo, and that's all, without comment, no interest.
It's interesting, isn't it, how this report is being reflected in such a variety, in such a different way in so many countries. Let's go to Sri Lanka. Ananda Sirisena, did you watch the news lately? Did you see it on television?
Oh, hello everyone. The Sri Lankan media has not reported on this US Congress report. That is not to say they haven't had articles about the UFO subject in the past, which were generally very positive, very little ridicule. You have to understand that Sri Lanka has maybe a 3,000-year history of being a country culturally and religiously affiliated with the Eastern religions of Buddhism and Hinduism, both of which accept extraterrestrial life. So the majority of people in Sri Lanka believe in the possibility or even the reality of extraterrestrial life. And many of them would accept the possibility that UFOs may well be spacecraft from extraterrestrial sources. So from that point of view, the fact that the report was not reported, or the congressional report was not reported in Sri Lanka is neither here nor there. Eventually, they will report on it in time, especially if I keep pressing the journalists. One of them is bound to pick up on it and make a mention in either a TV broadcast or a newspaper article. But there wasn't any today.
Isn't it interesting to state that in the Czech Republic, the media is not reporting this because people are too skeptical, and in Sri Lanka, they are not reporting it because everybody believes in the existence of extraterrestrial life anyway, and they consider it not newsworthy. Isn't that interesting?
It's kind of often opposite to the Czech Republic. Yeah, correct.
That's very interesting. Okay, Ananda, may I ask you what do you think? Since you said Sri Lanka is very much in Buddhism and those religions, do you believe that the kind of military approach that the United States are taking will help them solve the problem? I mean, there's this old saying that says, "To a hammer, every problem looks like a nail."
Mm-hmm. Right. That's an interesting statement. So let me give you my personal opinion on the congressional report. And this is my personal opinion. I think there are 2 positives in there and 1 negative. The negative is very large. So let's deal with the 2 positives first. First of all, it's almost saying that there is a reality to the UFO phenomenon. So that means maybe in the near future, we'll have scientific grants or research on this. The other positive is it set the skeptics squirming in their seats. They're becoming very uncomfortable. Many of the skeptics who in the past 40, 50, 60 years have said there is nothing, that this is not evidence of extraterrestrial life. The big negative of the report is that it did not come out and say what it should have said, which is that we have known for 75 years that these objects exist and that they're extraterrestrial. And we don't need to go any further back than Wilbert Smith of Canada to maintain this stance, and to the fact that he did metaphysical research on this. And even the United States Air Force, 3 secret studies concluded that the UFOs are interplanetary in origin. Well, let me remind everyone, interplanetary is extraterrestrial, even if it is the planet in our own solar system. So we need to look not just on the physical nuts and bolts reality of it, but the possibility of higher civilizations on the other planets within this solar system, which we don't have the instrumentation to discover, with 2 exceptions, and that is the mound conflagration in Cydonia on the planet Mars, and the building that was discovered on the far side of our moon. So these are bits of information that need to come out into the public and will come out into the public gradually through papers published in scientific journals.
And that is certainly a fascinating subject that we will have to elaborate upon in another discussion. Thank you very much, Ananda. Let's go to Don Schmidt again in the United States. We had learned prior to the release of that report that it actually contains about 78 pages in the classified version and about 20 pages in the unclassified version. I was pretty surprised to see that the unclassified version only has 9 pages. Don, do you think that the history of Roswell and what it was all about may be hidden in the classified portion of that report?
No, not for a second, because of the culpability, the fact that they resorted to extreme measures in dealing with the witnesses. There could be tremendous repercussions as far as the government and the military if they were ever to acknowledge the reality of Roswell. But I personally believe, more importantly, the lack of acknowledging that there is a UFO history, that the government here in the States was long involved in investigating the phenomena through Project Sign, Project Grudge, Project Blue Book being the most famous of the 3. And let's just hope that we don't have another Condon committee that would then serve as an out. Just imagine if the Pentagon should once again throw this to the scientific community. Let's throw it at a university and let's see if they can solve the mystery. Again, we've been there and we know what the results of that were. It set us back 50 years. But for the time being, the fact that the stigma has now been removed, as we've been discussing, the fact that we can talk about this because officially the United States has opened the investigation. They reopened it. They're creating the impression that this is a new effort. Well, they never left the playing field, so to speak. They've always been working on this. And I would issue a challenge also to the skeptics, especially those here in the States, those who were quick to provide explanations to all these military encounters that even the Pentagon, the Navy task force has now acknowledged they can come up with no prosaic, conventional explanation. It should put the skeptics back on their heels, the fact that they're armchair investigators who provide really nothing to the discussion. They have their own agenda, and it has never been the truth. It's strictly to keep them as far as relative in the discussion. And as far as I personally am concerned, they've never been relative.
Yeah, thank you, Don. May I go to Ireland, Eamon? You are the SETI astronomer among us, and I would like to have your opinion on how was this report received in the SETI community? Because after all, they have been looking for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence for decades and have not found the needle in the haystack of radio frequency clutter in the universe. And now there's this military report coming out and saying they cannot account for some of the reports, they cannot explain them. I know the SETI community is traditionally skeptical about the UFO phenomenon. Has this changed now with this report?
No, not necessarily. There are some changes. I think it's more of a transition going on. There's a lot of there are questionings by various astronomers, which is good. Mind you, that has been going on now for the last 2 months because they were aware of this report that's going to come up. They're also aware of other organizations from the scientific side of things that have been involved in UAP, and this is where the questions are coming. It's a bit early at this stage because all this has just happened in the last 24 hours, and I will be monitoring this as we go along. I was very happy with the likes of Avi Loeb, in Scientific American, he said that he would spearhead a particular science project to do with UAPs, which would involve multi-sensory platforms and so forth. You're dealing with extreme or extraordinary conservatism, which obviously it's led to extraordinary ignorance, in all this. But I think it's at least they're questioning. Regarding the media, I don't know if you asked me that question. We were actually, thanks to Chris, who's done some Trojan work in all this and getting onto media and so forth. So it was actually on the national television on prime time. This is like the biggest program, rather like 60 Minutes, for in the States. And there was 15 minutes on the report, and they were interviewing Sean Cahill, who was the Navy guy that was on one of I think it was the Nimitz or something. At least actually, I wouldn't have expected them to approach a ufologist so from that sense, at least the majority in the country here who would be watching a program like this would have seen that. So it was 15 minutes of exposure to it, which I think was quite good.
Yes.
So the other thing actually, and is that thanks to Chris, who's done a lot of work in getting onto so many people, but particularly ministers, but we may have a breakthrough indirectly through a contact now that one of the ministers is interested. And so in that light, we hope actually to progress this further. And if we're lucky enough, we might have a a one-to-one with one of the ministers. So that's where we're at this stage.
Great. Sounds fascinating. Keep us updated on this. It's really interesting. Francisco, I have a question to you. I mean, this is just a preliminary report, and we have learned that only shortly after it came out, the press secretary of the Pentagon issued a statement and announced that the Deputy Secretary of Defense, Kathleen Hicks, directed the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security to develop a plan to formalize the mission currently performed by the UAP task force, which means that what Andrea has just said before, that they are going to institutionalize the search and the research of unidentified aerial phenomena. Is that a good thing, or do you suspect they will also instrumentalize it for political means?
I mean, formalize... It's already, it's more officialized, because formalized, they are already investigating in the back door, right? So it's basically nothing new. It's just saying that we are going to officialize this. Well, at least there will be more, eventually, it will be more clear, more transparent in terms of funding, and more funding will flow to the research. And maybe this will lead other governments to do the same. Governments funding, for example, universities to proceed also with research, and that's something that we must take a look at and be more or less paying attention to. Maybe there's a sudden interest from the Czech Republic to follow the lead and research UFOs. So this may have a cascade effect. We hope so. Regarding to the how the media reacted here in Portugal, there was quite a few articles. I found it interesting, although they are more or less replicas of North American media. So a neutral approach, just reflecting what other media are talking about. But nevertheless, it was quite interesting. There were at least through two media from TV stations that were already reporting the outcome of the report. So that was indeed interesting. I contacted some reporters. Right now it's difficult to insert in the agenda because the agenda is full of COVID. So COVID is taking care of all the media attentions. But still, I hope we can do something in the next future.
Yes, I hope that too. And let's go back to Russia. My final question. So Granian, as Francisco just said, he hopes that other governments are now going to jump on the bandwagon and hopefully come out with what they know. Can you imagine Vladimir Putin going on the big national press conference and stating, yes, actually, this is what we know? And do you think that Russia is going to come out with anything new that they know? That now, after the Americans have done it,
I think if we talk about the question of global peace and cooperation, yes, why not? But of course, it's my own opinion. But I think that in this question, we should unite.
In this question, sorry, I didn't get that.
In this question, we should unite, cooperate, and work together in our difficult times.
Yes, I agree. But do you think that Russia may be tempted to tell us something about what they know about UFOs?
I don't know, but I think everything is possible.
Okay, so it all comes back to cooperation and peace. And that is, after all, the whole reason why we are doing all this, because we have all concluded that it is about time that we unite internationally and try to solve this riddle all together. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating in this first international panel. I'm so proud to be part of it. I'm so happy that you're all with us. And thank you so much. And thank you also for watching this international panel. Please make sure you visit our website, which is ICER.network, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to stay informed on what we're doing. Thank you. So long. See you. Bye-bye.